So here's another scene that I've put together in a fairly rough and ready way, and the reason for this approach that I intend to take is that I want you to feel free to experiment with the content that's been provided and to scavenge from these scenes so you can get ideas from them or effects or components from them, even if they're not exactly the same as are in the library. I'll show you how to add them to the library. So in this scene I've got another volumetric cloud material and a planet with another volumetric cloud material around it. Now that's linked with the planet, so this planet assembly has been put together and then this volume cloud has been put in. Then there's an assembly here that's a cyan sun, and then a sun glow has just been copied from that and moved back a bit and expanded, so that's just a glow in the sky that's associated to that. And then in the very background there's a star field. So we've got this moon here, which we didn't worry about that because that's a solid object, and a terrain. The terrain's purpose here is to hide the horizon, which is glowing orange, and that's lending this nice glow effect to the stars. So for example, everything's fine at the moment, you can't see any problems, and that's because these two volumes, this is the nebula that's wrapped around the camera, is not really interacting with the volume around the planet. If it was, and I'll just demonstrate that now, so if I hold Alt key down, Control key down together, I can return that to unit size, expand it, move it. Whoops. If you find when you're dealing with very large objects you can't get hold of things, it's because the object's got so big that it's moved beyond the scope of the orthogonal camera that's looking at it. So if you hold the Control key down, you can actually select it again and then reposition it using these controls. So if you run into that problem because you're having to make things big so they're not colliding, that's the answer. So here's this nebula that I've just moved around a bit, and I'm going to get it into view and position it so that it's really clearly interacting with the planet's atmosphere. And hopefully, if I can select a little area here, you can see there's a strange clipping effect occurring. So this is the atmosphere, that's limited atmosphere, and this sort of line has appeared here that's rather ugly and unwanted. And so what we can do is we can capture this volume cloud on its own and use that as a 2D face, and then we won't have that problem, much like the last example. You can see our sun's somewhat lost now in that. So let's deal with one problem at a time. So I've got the volume cloud selected at the moment. So what I'm going to do is select inverse and go to the attributes of these things and hide them temporarily. So we've just got the cloud visible. Now you can see what the land was hiding. Okay, so I'm going to capture this cloud. I'm also going to save our current camera position. I've already done it once, but I'll do it again just to be sure. It doesn't matter, you just click any of these dots and it'll save your camera position. So the next thing is to do is to just render this cloud, and then we'll bring it back in as a 2D object and pop it into place, and that will be good. What I wanted to point out, though I don't know whether it's going to be particularly clear, is that when you bring in a 2D image it does some kind of picked interpolation on it, and that can cause these edges to get wrapped around onto each other. So I'll just save this file, export image. I'll call this background 2. I've done it before, as you can see. Not every video that I record is successful. So now I've saved that image, I can get rid of my nebula, but first of all I'll unhide the things in my scene, then select my nebula and delete it, and then switch to the side view, modify my perspective camera so that all these values are 0. That will just allow me to locate where this 2D face is going to go. So move that around like that, go to the create, click on the little gold fellas, click an empty square, click on the background, open it, check out of there, modify the attributes of that so that it also is at the origin. Zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. Go to edit, check that I am in either object or world space, move it on the Z so we're in front of the camera, and then I'm going to go to the attributes of that 2D face and link it to the perspective camera, check out of there, switch back to my camera view, and then switch to camera space, and that'll allow me to push that 2D face back. So I need to get it in a position so it's behind these objects and not interfering with them in a way which could be awkward. So I've just got to pick my space accordingly, which can see now that it's at the back of that and at the back of my sun effect, so it's behind the planet. As long as it's not clipping through anything else in an awkward way, there won't be a problem. Go to the materials to my 2D face. Now it's put blobs in diffuse and ambience. I only really need it in ambience. I don't need diffuse, and I can turn my ambience output to 100 and then check additive, so I don't have any shadow problems. Check out of here, switch to main view and have a look. So that has sorted that issue out there. There's no longer that strange clipping line here. What else could we do? Well, this sun has got lost in part of this cloud, so what I could do is this effect here, this not planet assembly, I want the sun assembly. I could move that round. I want to keep it facing the camera, so I'll just rotate it round so it's as flat on as possible, and then we'll have a look at that in the scene. So that's that sun there. So we could try it in different positions. Move it up there. Okay, that's okay up there. Looks a bit large, so I'll make it a bit smaller. Now what will have happened by doing this is that this is a distant light source in there, and it'll still be coming from this part of the sky. I'm also using the sun in this scene on this edge, so I want to record the sun position, so I'll just pop a blob in there to record the sun position, and then hold Control and Alt, double click on the rollerball to make the sun active, then Control and Alt. Oh no, I've not managed to do it. Try again. Right, so now I've got the sun as an object that I can click in the sky. You can see that little asterisk. Pop it behind where I want the light source, go into the sun and moon, so that's about 14 and 64. So I now select the light in there, edit it, and go whatever those numbers were, 14 and 64, and that will set the distant light to that appropriate position in the sky, and you'll see that things change around on the ground there. Now if I recall my original sun position, you can see that we've got the light coming from two different directions, so that's corrected that. Now there is another sun glow in here that I copied from this and just enlarged, so I can reposition that so it's more where this sun is. You can see it's changed the character of the scene quite a bit because it's affecting the glow of the stars. So the star glows because of the additive effect of all these layers is appearing where that glow is. So I might make that a bit smaller and just position it roughly behind that sun and see how that looks. See, you can see what difference it's making just having that 2D layer in there. Maybe like that. Yeah. The other stars, well, there's one set of stars that are captured on the nebula background because I didn't turn the stars off, which I could have done. I could have gone into Sky and Fog and the Skylab and switched the stars off while I was capturing the nebula, but since I haven't, what I could do is I could change the glow by modifying the colour perspective here and have sort of two different colours of glowing stars. So let's make these ooh, that's a bit dramatic. Red and green. Ugh, no. Let's see. Make them more yellow. Whoops. More yellow. And then rotate the ball around so that they're not lining up so much as they were before. Check out of here. And so I should have got some yellow glowing star glow and some red glowing star glow mixed together. I think I'm going to increase the effect of that glow by giving it a bit more on each of these, but I've got to be careful not to overdo it. That's made it quite strong. Let's see what that effect's like. So I should be getting some of the yellow through here. Now, bearing in mind I am using quite a few layers on top of one another, you just have to be wary that you're not exceeding the maximum ray depth because it can run out. So I'll just turn this up and make sure that nothing's happening that's untoward in that respect. I'm just not seeing these glowing yellow stars coming through so much, so what I'm going to do, oh, that's because I turned them off, didn't I, to demonstrate that. Foolish David. Okay, try again. It should appear now. Getting glowing yellow stars? Where are they? I turned them off again. How did I turn them off again? I must have failed to check out correctly. Let me get... I'm having a weird bug now. I'm having a weird bug. What's going on? Sometimes there's weird bugs, you can defeat them by using the keyframing. Right, okay, that's sorted it. For some reason it kept resetting itself. I don't know why. It might have been something to do with there being a distant light source in the scene, because they can cause problems. So now I've got my yellow glowing stars and I've got my orange glowing stars that are captured with the nebula, and I've got rid of this issue on the atmosphere there where it was clipping the nebula, and it'll render a bit faster now because it's not having to do the other volumetric material. And so I will say that's more or less it for this scene, and we'll move on to another topic for the next scene. So right, there you go. I'll just let that render out, and hope you found that interesting and useful, and that you'll be able to utilize these techniques and pay attention to these little bugs when you I still haven't done the edge. That's one thing I wanted to do, the edge issue. I'll just cover that because I keep forgetting. So the 2D face, look at the material here. When you load it in, it does picked interpolation. If you've got bright edge on one side of your image and a dark edge on the other, it'll interpolate that brightness across to the dark edge. So, and providing you've done it at high enough resolution, you don't really need picked interpolation turned on. Right, so I'll turn that off and render it out and call that the end of the video. Okay then, cheers now.